build a community with me many songs at a time. Let's not kid ourselves. Where I use a 30-day song challenge for us to get to know each other a little bit better through the music that I love and that I listen to. So I did my random number generator on the grid, and it gave me songs from your childhood. And you were all in so much luck because I happen to have an entire playlist on my iTunes that is just called Youth. It's basically every song that gives me nostalgic glow, and I've chucked it onto that playlist, and it is a weird mix bag that I'm here to share with you today. First, we have to start. I'm a millennial child, so of course, Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, and Westlife, which I've heard recently did not get to the Americas, really. It hit Europe, and it actually came all the way down to South Africa and kind of stayed outside of the world. Westlife. They, beautiful Irish boys. I think my favorite one was Shane at the time. He was really pretty. Backstreet Boys, Brian was my go-to. I loved the emotion that he put into his voice. I have great memories of the zombie Halloween Backstreet's Back music video. It was glorious. And Spice Girls, I surprisingly was all for Sporty Spice. Although not surprisingly, if you know what I do for a living, it checks out. It really checks out. I did Spice Girls, Spice World, saw it on the big screen definitely more than once. Had the poster, had the platform tackies, those purple ones. I liked purple. I obsessed. I saw Spice Girls live once. They were in South Africa for some reason. I cannot remember in my youth. For I'm assuming a charity concert or some sort of festival concert, because they performed like 3 songs. There were a lot of other artists that I clearly didn't care about in my 10-year-old brain, because I was like, we're going to go see Spice Girls. And my mom treated me to see Spice Girls, and I had an entire purple outfit with the matching purple platform tackies. So yes, the youth was Spice Girls. Then we cannot talk about music that affected your youth without talking about the music of your parents, because let's be honest, my parents have exquisite music taste. So it is only obvious that their music 100% infected me as a child. So the first thing I remember, and I will point out, is it was the 3 albums that I clearly remember being in my mom's car at one stage. And the first one was the Hits 98. And I swear to God, I have searched for that version of the Hits 98, or even I've looked at like the Now That's What I Call Music 98 and all of the similar versions and vibes. And I cannot find this collection as I remember. I think it was a cassette tape at the time, and I'm sure it was 98. I swear. Because I think it definitely had Backstreet's Back, everybody, Backstreet Boys, but it also had Chumbawamba by Tub Thumpin', that I get knocked down, but I get up again, you're never gonna keep me down. And it had Song 2 from Blur, and woohoo, when I ran on, woohoo, those. And I cannot find a version of the Hits 98 that has at least those within its collection. So if anyone in South Africa finds the cassette tape or the CD, I'm sure it was definitely a cassette tape. I'm 100%, because we also had the cassette tape of the Ally McBeal soundtrack in the car at the time. So that was the other album, the Ally McBeal soundtrack, Vonda Shepherd in her glory. That was there. And then also Bryan Adams. And I think it was his 18 Till I Die album, Bryan Adams, which he came to South Africa, and I sent my parents to go watch him, because those were the memories I grew up with, was that man in my mom's car. He was glorious. So that's my mom's kind of side influence. My dad's side influence, well, it's kind of both of these, let's be honest. But my dad's side influence was more, I had on loop Roy Orbison's Mystery Girl album. And his voice, so stunning. I mean, because of that, I also have a lot of Traveling Wilburys, because my dad loves the Traveling Wilburys. But Roy Orbison, specifically Mystery Girl. And on that album, the comedians, because I do love a sad boy song. And The Comedians is a sad boy song. So do yourself a favor and listen to that. My dad also obsessed over Roxette, which, I mean, who doesn't? And in a similarly cropped blonde hair lady singer, Donna Winner. Obsessed with Donna Winner, especially her version of Vincent. That starry, starry night, paint your palettes blue and gray. Her version of that. Donna Winner. She is stunning. I think she has come to South Africa before because she is Belgian or Dutch. I'm sure. I think Dutch. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I will write it here if I'm correct or not. But yes, Donna Winner's album, that was life-changing for me. Roxette, Roy Orbison, those are my dad's editions. Then on another side tangent, I do remember my childhood. One of the albums on my childhood youth playlist is Wheatus, and specifically that with the Teenage Dirtbag. That album, it's yellow and orange, glorious, so cool. Obviously, My Chemical Romance, they had a big impact in my high school age, as I think I mentioned in my last chat, and also Nightwish, which interestingly enough, if you want to say things that affected me and like had a big impact on me in my childhood, Nightwish was a specific one because I found their music and they'd released a documentary on how they'd kind of gotten to where they started. And like it literally, the opening of the documentary was like the first review they ever got was like shitty band, shitty equipment, average music, not going to go anywhere. And then it cuts to like selling out stadiums in South America and stuff. Like it's phenomenal. But it let me fall in love with Finland because they are a Finnish band. And this documentary had a lot of interviews and a lot of showing their homeland and the country where they came from. And I obsessed a little bit over Tuomas Holpalainen, the writer and keyboardist of Nightwish. He was the right kind of edgy for me at the time. And because of them, I applied to be not because of them, I applied to be an exchange student. And because of them, I put Finland as one of my exchange student place choices of countries I'd like to go to. And I got selected. And so after I finished high school, I went and lived in Finland for a year as a high school exchange student because I fell in love with Nightwish, essentially. So thank you, Thomas. You inspired me to go see your homeland, Suomea, rakastan sinua. Yes. Then we move on to something else on my list. I have a list. My parents had a really good vinyl collection that I have definitely stolen from them. I'd say inherited, but they're still kicking. So I've stolen actively from them. And the first one is the War of the Worlds soundtrack, the original 1978 Jeff Wayne recording of War of the Worlds, which is a legendary concept album story. It's phenomenal. I would recommend anyone see it. It's been re-recorded many times, but you want to listen to the original John Wayne, the original 78 recording. I have that on. That is one of my prized possessions. Double vinyl, open book with lyrics. The pictures are beautiful. The aliens are the creepiest sounding thing. It is one of my favorites. And the other one is the Good Morning Vietnam soundtrack. Don't ask me why. I obsessed over it. I listened to it a million times. I can literally, it was an in-joke that I, with my family, can do the entire, that Good Morning Vietnam. Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll. Time to rock and roll from the Delta to the DMZ. Is that me or does that sound like an Elvis Presley movie? The entire thing. But it also introduced me to a lot of the more of that era music. Like they had, what was it? They had Martha and the Vandellas. Nowhere to run to, baby. They had the Castaways, Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. Like just an epic collection of music. As well as some Beach Boys, which on a side tangent, do yourself a favor, if you ever can, watch the documentary on Brian Wilson. It's the documentary Brian Wilson, Long Promised Road. It is so beautiful, so sad. Those guys went through so much. They have the most perkiest, beautiful, beach-loving, surfery music, but their lives, and Brian Wilson specifically, he passed away last year, but wow, do yourself a favor, watch the documentary. Phenomenal. I watched it with my dad a year or two ago. So good. But I'm waffling. I feel like this is going to be a long one. That is music from my childhood 101. What music reminds you of your childhood? Please share, because I can maybe add it to my youth. What have I forgotten? What have I left out in my millennial childhood? What things did your parents show you the glories of music? That is all for me today. I'll catch you guys next time on my music that made me, I think, 30-day song challenge.